Namaste. This is David Hawthorne at astroview.com. Today is the 9th of September 2015. The following is the Vedic astrology reading for Wayne Dyer, based on the 10th of May, 1940, at 3:13 a.m. in Detroit, Michigan. Now, using systems approach to interpreting horoscopes as developed by Professor V.K. Chowdhury, using Vedic astrology from India and the sidereal zodiac, we see that in the first house, at the time of birth, the 12th sign of the zodiac was ascending or rising at 3 degrees 42 minutes of Pisces. This is called Meena Lagna, Pisces rising sign. And this is Ketu, K-E-T-U, the southern node of the moon in the first house at 26 degrees 42 minutes. So Wayne Dyer was a self-help author and motivational speaker. His first book, Your Erroneous Zones, in 1976, became one of the best-selling books of all time. Over 35 million copies have been sold. He spent his early childhood up to about the age of 10 in an orphanage because his father had left his mother and her 3 sons. He served in the United States Navy from 1958 to 1962. He earned a doctorate in education in counseling from Wayne State University. Became a high school guidance counselor at Wayne State and a professor of counselor education at St. John's University in New York City. He pursued an academic career. He was published in journals, and he developed a private therapy practice. He was influenced by Maslow's concept of self-actualization and by the teachings of Swami Muktananda, who he considered his master. He also credited Saint Francis Assisi and Lao Tzu as foundational influences in his work. He was married 3 times. He had 3 divorces and 6 children, 1 by his first and 5 by his last wife. He was with his last wife for 20 years, and then they were divorced. On 2 separate occasions, he was accused of plagiarism. Stephen Mitchell, who's an author, he's also the husband of self-help guru Byron Katie, and also by psychologist Albert Ellis, who developed the Ellis rational emotive therapy. Dr. Dyer died from a heart attack in Maui, Hawaii on August 30th, 2015 at the age of 75. So we say that the first house is the ascendant or rising sign. This is a person's name, fame, health, appearance, reputation, and longevity. This is Pisces, 12th and final sign of the zodiac, which interestingly relates to the 12th Baba, the 12th house. And the 12th Baba is known as Mokshastan, the house of spirituality. And Ketu, K-E-T-U, the southern node of the moon in the first house, represents spirituality. Ketu is known as Moksha Karaka, significator for spirituality and enlightenment. So this gave him some sense of detachment, some keen interest in spiritual life. And the 12th house also has to do with foreign lands, and he studied with Swami Muktananda from India. Now in the second house, we have the first sign, Aries, sitting here. And this is the house of wealth, status, and continuation of family life. And we have 4 planets here. We have Surya, Bud, Shani, and Guru. That's Sun, Mercury, Saturn, and Jupiter. We have to take each of these planets ultimately and measure them, evaluate them for their own strengths and weaknesses. But we can say, with these planets in the second house, Jupiter represents education, and the second house is wealth and status. So he had wealth and status through education, publishing, teaching, consulting, religion, law, and advisory roles. Saturn in the second house gives one the ability to measure one's words, to think before he speaks. Mercury, of course, is the planet of communications, writing, business brokering. And Sun is the planet of authority. So he spoke, and this is an exalted Sun in Aries, so he spoke as an authority figure. Mercury rules the 7th house of Virgo, so it created some wealth and status through partnerships and joint ventures. Saturn ruling the 12th house of foreign lands is in the house of wealth and status, so he had international success with his books. He had many other best-selling books as well. And of course, Jupiter is the planet of luck and divine grace, and it rules this 10th house of professional life, so his professional life leads to wealth and status. There's more to this. We'll be back in a moment. In the 3rd house, we have the 2nd sign, Taurus. So this is Chandra in Vrishab, moon in Taurus. This is an exalted moon. And by the way, Sun is also exalted. So Dr. Dyer was born when both Sun and Moon were exalted. And this is rare because this does happen every year, but it's only 2 days of every year. So it's a very auspicious time. I think it's called Akshaya Tritiya in India. It's a very auspicious time when both Sun and Moon are exalted. But Moon is in the 3rd house of entrepreneurial success. It's a royal planet of affluence, and it indicates public favor. Also gives melodic voice as well, sweet speech, sweet communications. And Moon rules his 5th house of Cancer, which is the house of higher education. So this can give some success through higher education. In the 4th house, we have the 3rd sign, Gemini, Mongol and Shukra and Matun, Mars and Venus in Gemini. Mars was his house of wealth and status, and it's in the house of property. One of the principles in systems approach to interpreting horoscopes is that the ascendant degree is not an arbitrary number, very specific to the time of birth. Any planet close to the ascendant degree has an impact where it occupies and where it aspects. So Mars, ruling this house of wealth and status, is close to the rising sign degree. So it blesses the house of property, and it aspects 4, 7, and 8 houses away. So it also blesses the house of joint ventures and partnerships and foreign lands. It blesses the house of professional life, gives wealth and status through professional life and some executive skills. And it blesses the house of income and gains. So it gives some wealth and status through his own money, his own self-efforts, and through property. Venus is also in this house at 9 degrees 37 minutes. So these two can make one very passionate, and this can also bring some windfall through property. It can give a beautiful wife at home. This is home life, and this is Venus. It also can give a luxurious home, luxurious properties, vehicles. In the 5th house, we have the 4th sign Cancer, ruled by the Moon. Moon's connects education and investments with entrepreneurial success and working with the public. 6th house, we have the 5th sign Leo, ruled by the Sun. Sun has gone up into the 2nd house. This sometimes gives wealth and status through overcoming enemies and obstacles and adversity. We start out with the adversity of not having a father's support. That also has to do with the fact that Sun rules the 6th house. The 6th house, the 8th house, and 12th house are Dustan Babas, inauspicious houses. So planets ruling those houses can cause adverse effects. So Sun actually can cause adverse effects. It is not on the rising sign degree, so it does not. But we would say that Sun is weak in old age degrees. Any planet past 25 degrees is old age. So there's some weakness to the Sun because it's in old age, and it is in Aries ruled by Mars, which is also in infant state. Any planet in the first 5 degrees is infant. An infant child cannot feed, clothe, shelter, and protect you. So Mars is technically weak, So that undermines the strength of Sun. So that can cause some disputes in life and lack of support from father. Fortunately, Sun is not at 13 degrees or 5 degrees or 3 degrees, so it's not bothering this house or any of the planets it's sitting with. It causes some combustion of Mercury and Saturn, so it weakens them to some extent. But there's no serious affliction. In the 7th house, we have the 6th sign, Virgo, and this is Rahu, R-A-H-U, the northern node of the moon at 26 degrees. This generally gives somebody a highly ambitious wife or spouse or highly ambitious partnerships and joint ventures. If Rahu and Ketu were at 3 degrees, it would be a disaster, but they're not. They're 23 degrees from the most effective point, from the ascendant degree, so they're not afflicting. But Rahu throws an aspect 5, 7, and 9 houses away, so this Rahu is afflicting Moon. So that can cause some disturbance for his mother and for his peace of mind and some disturbance relative to his children. I'm sure the divorces were not easy on the children. This gives him a very voracious mind, very active mind, and a keen interest, this is desires, in the subconscious, in psychology. But it definitely causes some issues. So he could have been wearing white clothing, white shirts, using white colors in his life. Even a single large pearl would have helped. Moon and Sun are also significators for the heart. And he died from a heart attack. So this is a weak Sun and an afflicted Moon. Moon is also a secondary significator for a wife in a man's chart. So this causes Rahu's an eclipse. So this causes an eclipse of marriage. The other reason for the 3 marriage is the 7th house is Virgo. Pisces have to be very concerned about Mercury because Mercury rules relationships. And worldwide, maybe only 20% of Pisces rising signs are actually happy in marriage because Mercury is frequently afflicted in transit. Mercury is a very fast-moving planet, so it's frequently in the 6th house of Leo, the 8th house of Libra, or the 12th house of Aquarius. Or it's afflicted frequently by the rulers of those houses, Sun, Venus, and Saturn. So notice in Wayne's chart, Wayne Dyer's chart, Saturn ruling this 12th house of losses and separations is at 13 degrees, afflicting Mercury at 13 degrees. This is 100% affliction. So this causes losses and expenses and separations and end of marriage. So it would have been good to wear an emerald gemstone to strengthen Mercury and to spend time in lush green environments. He ended actually good intuition. He ended up in Hawaii. But you also have to propitiate planets causing adverse effects. So he can do charities for the elderly and the poor and the needy on Saturdays. He should not be wearing any black, brown, or gray colors, or black gemstones, or blue sapphire gemstones. So Bhuta Yagya would be to help the elderly and the poor and the needy on Saturdays. Deva Yagya would be to listen to the chants for Lord Shiva on Saturdays. 108 names. You can get those on YouTube. Anybody that has Saturn as a malefic for their chart should do the Shiva pujas on Saturdays. So that would be for the Cancer rising sign, the Virgo rising sign, and the Pisces rising sign. For the other 9 signs, Saturn will never cause harm. Now notice that Saturn is in Aries, which is the debilitation sign for Saturn. So this is not ideal for living abroad permanently. And it causes some insomnia, causes separate sleeping arrangements with one spouse, some lack of fulfillment on the level of intimacy. 8th house, we have the 7th sign Libra, ruled by Venus, and Venus has gone into the 4th house. Now, if Venus was at 3 degrees, it would be a disaster because Venus for Pisces becomes the most malefic planet. It rules the 8th house of death, obstruction, delays. Fortunately, this Venus is not on the rising sign degree, and it's not within 5 degrees of Mars. And its aspect into the 10th house causes no damage. So we would just say that Venus is benign. That connects marital bond with home life and property. Could even give him some windfalls with property. Can give a luxurious home. So Venus is okay, but he could have done the remedies for Venus, which is to be considerate to his wife on Fridays, not to wear diamonds, to help women who are like sisters on Fridays, and he could listen to the chants for Lakshmi on Fridays. 9th house, 8th sign Scorpio, 10th house, 9th sign Sagittarius. So this is the house, 10th house is the house of karma, career, professional life, the field of action. It's ruled by Guru, by Jupiter. Jupiter is extremely well placed, and notice that it's close to the rising sign degree. So its impact in the house it occupies and the houses it aspects is considered quite favorable for professional life. So Jupiter throws an aspect 5, 7, and 9 houses away. This is a very beautiful aspect 9 houses away because this is its own sign. So this causes some influence in the 10th house known as a Panch Mahapurush Yoga, one of the 5 great yogas. So this brings a lot of luck into his career, and Jupiter is what? Professor, teacher, consultant, advisor, religious leader, psychologist, astrologer. And this Jupiter is blessing the house of this 6th house here, which is law, medicine, finance, social work, and psychology, being of service to others, and overcoming enemies and obstacles. And Jupiter is even blessing this 8th house of Libra. So that brings some windfall through his professional life. Jupiter rules the 10th house of career and is blessing the house of windfalls and easy money. So you made a ton of money as this self-help author and motivational speaker. 11th house, 10th sign Capricorn, 12th house, the 11th sign Aquarius, ruled by Saturn. So Saturn rules his 12th house. It's a functional malefic planet. For Pisces, Sun ruling the 6th house, Venus ruling the 8th house, and Saturn ruling the 12th house are the functional malefic planets, along with Rahu and Ketu, which are functional malefic planets for every rising sign. We always have to be careful if Rahu and Ketu are on a person's ascendant degree within 5 degrees of that. If so, then they will be afflicting 6 of the 12 houses. In this case, not. Ketu throws an aspect 5, 7, and 9 houses away. Nothing there to be bothered. These two are always opposite each other. But this Rahu, aspects 5, 7, and 9, it definitely afflicts this moon. So that gives voracious mind, active mind, strong desire for education and children, procreation. But it also causes some disturbance. He had probably had some symptoms of ADHD or bipolar disorder. Could also cause trouble for the heart, chest, lungs, fluids in the body, and thyroid. So we would have recommended twofold remedies. Wear the 10-carat pearl for the moon and propitiate Rahu. For Rahu, you feed the birds in the morning and help afflicted persons. In India, we would say feed the lepers. And you can also listen to the chants for Lord Shiva, 108 names of Lord Shiva. We want to do the twofold remedies for chart. We want to strengthen the favorable planets, and we need to do Bhuta Yagya, Deva Yagya for planets causing adverse effects. That's charities and chants. And you can listen to any spiritual chants that work for your tradition, for your religion. I prefer the Vedic chants from India because they are in Sanskrit, the mother of all language. Vedic astrology and Vedic chants were in Sanskrit and predate other languages and other astrological paradigms. So these are the main points for the chart for Wayne Dyer. He was a good man. He meant well. He shared a lot of knowledge. I'm sure that's very good karma. K2 in the first house brings liberation, enlightenment. So we can speculate that he's gone to Brahmaloka, the abode of the gods. Namaste.